Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias. Today we're going to talk about my all-time favorite crossover, The Age of Apocalypse. I freaking loved it. And the issue that we're going to dive in today is X-Men Alpha. And this particular story actually kicks off the whole Age of Apocalypse. I know within the crossover itself, there's stories that happened prior to this one. But in this particular issue, it's like ground zero. In this story, we basically get introduced to all the movers and shakers within the Age of Apocalypse. We discover what they're doing, where they're at, who they're working with, if they're one of the good guys or the bad guys or even worse guys. Also, before I move any further, I have to say that the story was written by Scott Lobdell and Mark Waid, and fantastic art by Roger Cruz. I thought it was Joe Madureira, but nope, it's Roger Cruz. Their art styles are pretty similar, and during this time, Joe Madureira was doing X-Men, and he's going to do one of the X-Men miniseries within the Age of Apocalypse, the Astonishing X-Men run, I think. So the story actually starts off with Bishop, who's the sole survivor of the previous 616 universe. What had happened in the previous story arc that was called Legion's Quest, Legion, who is Xavier's son, went to the past with the idea of killing Magneto. I guess it's a pretty hardcore way to seek validation from your father, kill his greatest enemy slash best friend. It's complicated, the relationship between Xavier and Magneto. But what ended up happening is that Legion, by accident, kills Xavier. This pretty much shatters all reality, changes the whole timeline. This basically enables the rise of Apocalypse. He pretty much takes over all of North America. And pretty much the rest of the world is a nuclear wasteland. Now, in this reality, we have Magneto, who's the leader of the X-Men. They're the main resistance against Apocalypse. But I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, because what happens in this story, again, Bishop is wandering this wasteland. He comes across this little girl when she's about to be killed by Apocalypse's forces. We have a battalion of Infinities who are like the basic foot soldiers to Apocalypse, and the leader of the group is actually Eunice, a classic old school X-Men villain who here obviously has received quite an upgrade. So Bishop is about to lock in combat with Eunice and his forces when the X-Men arrive just in the nick of time. And I really love this lineup, even though it's a hodgepodge of the two X teams that we're going to get during the Age of Apocalypse. So first we get Victor Creed, Sabretooth, who looks freaking awesome, Wildchild, Blink, Morph, Rogue, Magneto obviously is the leader, Quicksilver, Storm, Iceman, and Nightcrawler. I also love the redesigns for the Age of Apocalypse. They look really cool. So our heroes are able to defeat the bad guys. And what happens is when Bishop realizes that Magneto is the leader of the team, he totally freaks out because he accuses Magneto of the one being responsible for the death of the Xavier in the first place. Magneto discreetly knocks Bishop out because he really doesn't want the X-Men to find out what really went down back when Xavier died. So after this first encounter that we get, this issue starts cutting to all the different movers and shakers across the Age of Apocalypse. First, we jump to Dark Beast, a very evil version of Hank McCoy who's running experiments on the Blob. We also get to see Havoc and Cyclops, all part of Factor X. All these guys report to Mr. Sinister, and in the Age of Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister is one of Apocalypse's horsemen. So the interesting thing about Dark Beast is that he's going to be able to escape the Age of Apocalypse. He's going to end up in the main Marvel Universe. And also the pretty curious thing is that the Blob from the Age of Apocalypse ends up also in the main Marvel Universe. That happens much, much later. But anyhow, then we cut to Angel, who we discover he has a bar. And the thing is, with Warren Worthington, he's going to be involved with all types of clandestine activities. Many of the patrons that go to his bar are part of Apocalypse's forces, but at the same time, he's helping the good guys. There he gets visited by Gambit, who's going to be the leader of a team called the X-Ternals. Now, the tie-in series with the X-Ternals are stand-ins for X-Force, and their adventures are going to be pretty bonkers. They're going to end up in the Shi'ar universe. Then we get presented to two other horsemen of Apocalypse. First, we get Holocaust, which obviously they change his name to Nemesis further down the line. And then Abyss. Both really interesting characters. I personally love Holocaust design. He looks like the coolest villain ever. This villain also found his way into the main Marvel Universe. He was like the main villain to X-Men in that run. But he sort of disappeared with time. It's a real shame. I thought the character had a lot of potential. So now let's talk about Apocalypse himself. That in his story, he's not that interesting. in this crossover, we actually don't get to see how he ascends to power in the first place. He's already there. He's already done everything that he wanted to do. Now basically he just has to stamp out a couple rebel groups and take over Europe. His main issue is actually having to deal with his 4 horsemen who are planning and plotting to overthrow him and screw him over. Especially Mr. Sinister, because it's Mr. Sinister. So I'm going to leave this video here. I hope you guys liked it. The idea with this issue is just a setup to the whole crossover. I really recommend you guys, if you want to start reading this whole story, start here. So see you guys next time. Bye.